How is it
Woo!
mid-June
Finally got it to play
already?
automatically.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Let's go.
I feel like everybody, like, if you're around, can we give Sami just a standing ovation for every week, just like finding the next way to tweak this and make it better? It's really great. Hi, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you all week, so I love that this is like our time where we hang out, because I for sure get to see you every week, and that makes me super happy. So
same here. It is always nice to see you. Who are you, sir? Introduce yourself to the crowd. Tim Lockie, who are you?
Oh, hi, everybody. I'm Tim Lockie, and I'm CEO of the Human Stack. I educate, empower, and enable nonprofit organizations and humans to use technology and AI to make the world better. So, yeah. And who are you, Sami?
Hi, everybody. I am Sami Zoss. I work with Tim at the Human Stack. I like to call myself the systems whisperer there. But really, I help Tim serve that mission, right? So my favorite thing to do is get into the weeds like we do here on this live and say hi and figure out, like, what are people struggling with. I really focus on that sort of like ground floor detail work, and work with Tim on how do we make it more churnable for our nonprofit partners. So we like to help good people do good things.
We like to help.
Not a bad way to think about it.
That's not a bad way to think about it. I like it. Yeah, it's great. Okay, you were in. Are you back at home now?
I am back at home. I've got my dogs around here somewhere. Right. Which I suppose we're a national organization, right? So Tim's actually located in Montana. I'm over here in South Dakota. Last week, what he's referencing, I was in Beverly Hills serving a nonprofit client called Project Camp. Next week, I will actually be gone for another camp. So if you can't tell, we're both very extroverted, but I think if we were to fight on extroversion, I'd probably win. And it's definitely due to all of my camp experience.
You might now, but what I don't know if you know is that I was a camp counselor and I was really good at it. I was like built for camp counseling, but anyway.
But see, I always find
I'm old and curmudgeonly and like, I don't know. Yeah,
you're a bit old.
I know, exactly, and curmudgeonly.
Just giving you
the second half of that.
But I do think there's something to be said for it is almost always the camp counselors that's who they are. Like my extroverts are always like some version of a previous camp counselor, and I'm like, yes, you were, of course you were.
Yeah, totally.
So anyway,
okay, this week, what are we learning? Tell me about it.
Yeah. So my favorite way to describe today, like if you've ever wished you had like a data analyst on your team, I know you and I love to like nerd out in the data. But that takes a lot of time and frankly a skill set that most of us don't have, myself included, which is why it takes me a lot longer to do it. So today is all about how do we use Gemini in Google Sheets, because they just literally May 15th released an update to it to help sort of get past that barrier of like what is scary about data analysis, and allows you to be so much more data driven in your mission and impact reporting. So super pumped. But before we get into that, Tim, I would love if you could tell the folks all about one of our favorite times of the year. It's still a few months away, but we've got the Fundraising AI Global Summit, and we've got a QR code for people to register. Tell them all about it. You've got more experience with it than I do.
Fundraising AI is an organization that has come together to ensure that fundraisers have access to the best tools, training, and resources around using AI to empower their organizations through fundraising. It started in, was it 3 years ago? A couple years ago.
I think this is the third summit.
Yeah, Nathan Chappelle and a bunch of us got into a room and started talking about what we could do with this. And literally over the next 6 months, created the framework, one of the first AI frameworks for responsible use of AI, and then went on to create the summit. So Mallory Erickson really worked to make that summit happen. Nathan Chappelle worked really hard to make the framework happen. A lot of us were behind the scenes helping with both of those things And that organization / movement has just been one of those spaces that was early into getting a lot of resources together to show people how to use AI for good and where to think about it being ethical, how to define and really contribute to beneficial and responsible use of AI. And Nathan continues to champion that. There's a huge range of advisors that work together to
Yes.
make this happen. And the summit is coming up again in September, correct?
Yes, September. It is 15th and 16th.
Okay.
And if you scan that QR code, it takes you right to the registration page. It's completely free too. I should probably make that like bigger on the ad here because it's completely free. And not only that, you can access all of the former summit sessions as well. So one thing I love about FAI, which is sort of like what we'll say if we don't want to do the whole fundraising.ai. What I love about fundraising AI though is they make sure that transparency and accessibility are like first and foremost. And because of the awesome sponsors and supporters that they have, they can do that. And I love that, we at the Human Stack are certainly part of that list, both as change makers in the room with them, but also as people supporting what they're doing. But I think it's really important to note how accessible they're trying to make everything, right? Like you can jump on it today and get every single summit session previously. And these are like Google nonprofit and Microsoft philanthropies. I mean, Debbie's there, like just crazy access that we would not get. And I think it's important to note, people hear fundraising AI and they think like, oh, more AI and fundraising. I know we're actually hitting a fatigue that I'm sure at some point, Tim, we're going to have to do an episode about. I mean, we feel it and we work in this stuff every day, but
totally.
I think it's important to clarify that fundraising AI is specifically for the ethical use and the responsible use of AI in fundraising. It is not saying you should use AI across nonprofit. Everything you do should be run through AI, should be automated, etc. They're really big on that. And so that's one thing that as I've been explaining what FAI is, I want to keep emphasizing that because I don't think I've done them the best service of explaining that in the first bit. So
yeah, I think that's great. And we will very likely have Jen Lau, who leads fundraising AI, on to talk about it because we like Jen. We always want to have her come on. So stay tuned for that. You're going to see us talking about this all the way up. And at some point, we might pull in some of the speakers and sponsors beforehand, just so that we can keep moving forward on what is, I think, a very important part of what we're trying to do in the nonprofit space with AI.
Absolutely. So excited. All right. So, Tim, do you want me to tell them what we're going to learn about today, or do you want to?
I'll do it. Today, we're going to talk about how Google Gemini integrates with Google Sheets and a lot of the different functions that you can do with that. I am excited because I am going to be the student and Sami's going to be walking through some of this. So you're going to watch me learn some of this for the first time, which I am excited about. But yeah, today is all about how Gemini can work inside of your Google Workspace, specifically inside of Google Sheets.
Heck yes. And full disclosure, one of the reasons I keep looking over at this screen is because I, for the first time, also put us live on Facebook. And so I want to double check that we're watching that and our LinkedIn. So I'm just trying to make sure, and it's on. So we'll see. It'll be super fun. We're learning new things about Restream.
I know, it's Gemini great.
All the time.
All the time.
We've got this. Do you want to, let's do a little bit of content first. How's that sound? Or do you want to talk about it? No, you can talk about that.
No, let's do the content first.
Okay. We're still learning what the best flow is. So if you have thoughts, please feel free to let us know. Okay, so a couple notes about us utilizing why we're kind of doing Google Sheets right now. One, because Google Sheets, it's the same reasons that we've said, right? That like it can be intimidating, but Google just released, and I'm going to put in chat on all of the things. Google just released updates to Google Sheets. And so with that, It is, and that was May 13th, I guess. They pushed it out May 15th. When I was testing, we had some of the release and some not. And so I can show you where it does and doesn't work. But that's okay, right? Like, there's some cool new features that I'm really excited to show you. And I think in general, people will see how nice it'll be to be able to use the information that's already in your Google Workspace, right? Like that's one of the things Tim and I were talking about. It's already in your Google Workspace. You've already got this data out there. Let's make it usable and turnable for the people who don't live in data all day, every day. So without
Can I expand on that for 1 second here? That's a really crucial,
I'm going to make sure I commented on everything.
Yeah, it's really crucial to see that this is one of the few platforms in which I've seen teams be able to create like a folder, and then everybody can access that folder, pull it in, and utilize that information within their workspace so that as they're making changes to it, everybody can see those changes, everybody can access that same data. A lot of other ones pull in, but they don't actually create change in those documents. So they can reference them, but they're not actually reading and writing to them. So, or not actually writing to them. So, all right. There you go. Without further ado.
I am so excited. Okay, you get to choose which sheet I work in first.
Okay.
I've created data for Impact Me. I've got donor information or grant tracking spreadsheet. I have two others, but I think as far as perfect. All right, sharing
I feel like show. Grant tracking for 200, please.
We should do a fun little.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
we're having so much fun doing this, you guys.
I know, exactly. Okay, but for my eyes and others, can you zoom in on that?
Yeah, you old man.
There we go. Thanks.
All right. So let's talk through just really quick what data we have in front of us. Reminder: this is all this is fake data. So we would never show in live real data. Right. We would keep it in our infrastructure, but if we were doing a live show, we're doing fake data, or somehow we would have permission to share this. Now, grant tracking, not as big of an issue. Donor information, much bigger issue. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
So you can see this is a really good example of how this information might be. Oh, Megan said this link doesn't work.
I'll
Megan,
find out what's going on, and I'll get a link that does work and push it out.
Okay, I was gonna say, if nothing else, I can do it while we do the second promo as well.
Okay.
So one thing you'll notice is this is very much how data might be put into a spreadsheet, right? Like, especially when you're not using formulas or formatting. There's some with $, some without, some with time, some without. Love all of that. Just to walk us through a few of these things, like right up here, there was that summarize table button. It went away, but it was right up over here. And now it is canceled because I accidentally, there we go. Summarize this table because I was trying to show you guys where it was. So really simple. This is like one of the most obvious things we know that it can do, right? No big deal. Not no big deal, but pretty simple. Before we even get back
simple, the impact of it is actually pretty substantial, right?
Huge. Yes.
So, okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Just an overview of it, right?
Right.
But the impact that I think you're referencing, Tim, this is where the magic happens. Right down here. And I'm actually going to switch our scene here really quick so people can see where I'm pointing because our cameras were covering that. Okay, we're gone for a second. Sorry.
Yeah.
Down here, analyze data. Go ahead and click that. And you could also type that into Gemini. But once you click that, it's going to talk you through exactly what it's doing, which I love. And then it's giving me a nice little chart of where we are at. Not just one.
Wait, what are these? Can you say what these charts are?
I can. It was still loading, so I was waiting for it to end.
Right. No, this is really amazing.
Okay, so it's referencing. I love that it tells me what it referenced, right? Because I didn't actually highlight everything. I was only in one cell. So important to note that how awesome is it that it's actually giving us, hey, we referenced everything in your data set.
Yeah.
And so you can actually verify that, right?
Right.
Then it's saying it's talking you through. So when you see like the user wants or thinking, what the generative AI is doing is telling you what it thinks you're asking for or what it's trying to process. So it's either talking you through its thinking or sort of like saying it so it can reaffirm, are you asking for this? Is this what you're requesting? So then it said, okay, this is what they want. To get a comprehensive analysis, I'm going to focus on these key areas. So it did grant status distribution, trends, and analysis of our funders. Then again, continues to walk you through it. So this first one is just distribution of grant application by status. So live snapshot, grant application by status, how many have been awarded, how many are in draft, pending, rejected, and how many have been submitted. So we're just kind of waiting. You hit that preview and it can actually pop out. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit that arrow. You could also insert it right into your sheet. Sorry, I'm trying to read and like talk at the same time, which is just real hard. So what that means, I'm going to close out of this really quick. So when I hit insert, this will update. So if I were to change one of these now, at least it did yesterday, right? Awarded. So it doesn't update. They put a note, if you read you found the updated blog. They put a note that their formulas in particular for these column and chart generation, they've had some sticky issues with it. That and pivot charts. You're on mute, sir.
So we should think of these as static in the moment that you're talking about them, right? So
yes.
Okay, that's helpful to know. And this is, like you started by saying, this part that we're looking at right now is particularly helpful to analyze what the data is telling us right now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So think like if you're prepping a board report or impact reports, that's where like perhaps you're not going to actually insert into here. You're going to copy the chart and you're going to go put it over into
that's what I'm thinking
Google
too.
Slide.
Yep.
Yes, right. Exactly.
Okay.
So it said like, sweet, to further analyze, I'm just going to read this part really quick because I think this is really helpful context. I'm going to examine the financial aspects of the grant applications, calculate the total requested and the total amount awarded to understand the overall funding landscape. Then I'll analyze the relationship between the requested and awarded amounts for the applications where funding decisions have been made. Before I move on, the reason why that is important that it is telling you that. Imagine you sending this spreadsheet to your CEO who doesn't do data analysis, who doesn't want to look through and figure out what it means for all 46 of these applications that are out. This is basically saying, here is what we're prioritizing and what its impact might be, right? So it's to understand the overall funding landscape. That's huge. Of course, that's what the CEO is going to want, right? But then if I want something else, I know that that's what I was looking for. I don't want to understand the funding landscape. I want to understand what we seem to be getting rejected for. Or, you know what I mean? Like that's where you can start pointing down a little bit more to like, I don't want to overall now. Yeah. I want to really dig in.
Okay. Can we ask that? Can we say, do we have some that we did not win?
Can you get me an analysis? Because there are plenty of rejected analysis of those I'm going to say didn't win because I want to see. Yeah. I tried rejected already once. We didn't win, and perhaps why? It really shouldn't be able to give us why because there's not context in here.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say is that unless we have this linked or pulling in.
Oh, but there is a note. But it's really more like reapply. You know what I mean? Some of that stuff. So
yeah. Okay.
Let's see.
Not that much.
Funders with the most rejections. I mean, it gave us a lot. That's for sure. So again, it walked you through kind of like what it was doing. We don't need to go through that all. Funders with the most rejections. Future Tech Foundation, we were rejected 5 out of 13 times. Local Impact Alliance, 3. Common themes and rejection notes. So the data it does have, it's giving us. So potential, reapplication, prep, final documents. suggest several possibilities, but I love that it tells you what it's doing there, like what it's analyzing, instead of just, because a lot of the AI that we use, and Tim, you can attest to this, a lot of the AI that we use doesn't show us this part.
It doesn't tell you
it goes right into
what
this.
You're thinking. Okay.
Yeah, which I actually really appreciate.
Okay, here's my next question.
Here's really quickly, here's some key takeaways, right? So it's saying, given the high number of rejections, maybe we need to thoroughly review their funding priorities. Maybe re-review this. Check out those reapplication opportunities. Document the prep to make sure you're more prepared for them. So it's giving you an analysis, but then like actionable, tangible, this is how you can take this and do something with it, not just have the percentages, not just have the stats, etc. Okay. Yep. Go, Tim.
Okay, my next question. So this is fine. This is great. It's an example. Like you and I both are already thinking like, okay, well, what would it look like if we just went and copied the grant application into one of these cells? Then, for each grant, then what could it tell us analytically about all of that? I'm not saying we should go do that. I just think that would be the next step for me, is to find out how good is that analysis. The real question I think I'm asking, and that a lot of other people want to know, is can Gemini actually go in and work inside of a cell for you, right? Can you tell it, go do this thing inside of a cell? Not just like help with the formula creation, but actually how does it enhance your use inside of a Google spreadsheet? Does that make sense? Not just analyzing.
So like, can it? Yes. I will show you one more feature, and then I will show you sort of like the high level feature of this after I have you do our shout out to Neon One.
Oh, okay, good.
Great. Two things that I want to make sure I point out before we move on to those, and we'll get into some of them. I'm going to clear this history really quick. One thing, Tim, I told you there's something I wanted you to learn in live. You can now use your gems in Sheets. Yeah. Right? I discovered that far too late. So I'm so excited.
What? Okay. Sorry.
Okay. So Impact Me Social Copy Creator. Actually, let me go to, right here. Can you write a social post about or highlighting our grant wins? Now let's see. I have to reference. Did you see that? I saw it right there. I have to reference the sheet still. So interesting. It basically just moves the gem into your, like, it makes the chat bot into your interface.
Gotcha. Yep.
And it still does it. You just have to make sure you tag it. And I think Google, that's already improved from what it was before, because you kind of had to like upload it from Drive. Now you can just it or add it. Yep. Like, look at this. Based on the one we created a while back, like here's the, but it didn't actually fill the information. It just did the, wait. It wants you to mail merge them. That's why.
Oh.
It's creating a mail merge version for us. Yep.
Wait, so it's creating a new social post for each line?
It's essentially saying, you could mail merge and do all of the ones you won, because I just said for the ones we're winning. And so it was thinking I wanted one, whereas what I was referencing was our overall win. Like, give us an overall view. So anyway, there's that. And then last bit, and then I'm going to have you jump over, and then I'm going to try and prep an adjustment of a demo to reach your question. But you can hit equals. And yes, generate. That's it. You can generate formulas and all that stuff. Fine and dandy. But what I love is I can go equals AI. So what I was going to do earlier is tell me what I was going to say is create a fake grant application or RFP so we could test out your thought.
Right. Yeah.
For this, I don't know, for this organization.
Okay. Before you hit enter on that, can we just parse this really quickly? So I haven't seen this
Yes.
formula before. So
Oh, I did
the
not mean to hit enter. Sorry.
that's fine. Okay. So you've got equal AI, right? That's how you that's the formula, or that's the function. And the
Yes.
parameters inside of that, can you just talk me through what those parameters inside of that are doing?
Yes. Yes. This is why I love our partnership, because I'm just gonna keep going. Okay. It's got prompt and then range, right? So the prompt I just learned in live, was reminded in live that the prompt has to be in quotes. So you have to
Yep.
put your prompt in quotation
Mm-hmm.
marks. Then after the
Right.
last quotation mark, you need a comma, and
Yep.
that will move you to the range. So basically, what you're saying is, instead of where you would use Gemini, the whatever we would call this version of Gemini for your entire sheet or bigger sections, this you can use on specific ranges
Yep.
and then apply it like a formula, right? So I'm saying create a fake grant RFP for this organization, and I actually just want it to be these two. I don't want them to have
Yep.
all this stuff, right? So then I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to close off my parentheses. I'm going to hit enter.
Mm-hmm.
And then while that is loading, I would say we can come back and see what that looks like, because it's going to take a second.
Yeah.
Oh, well, sorry, your request. It says I'm unable to create a fake grant RFP.
Okay, that's fine though. That's fine.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, so I'm just wanting to put together a couple of pieces on this then. How you
Yeah.
could use this really effectively would be to say, so this is something that came up for us when we were actually doing the fundraising AI live speaker series where we did lives before this, right? And we had a list of everybody
Yes.
that was going to be doing a live. And then I would go in and pull their LinkedIn profile out. I would put that someplace. This would allow us to go create a prompt that would look at all the content from the LinkedIn profile and create like a quick intro for them, right?
Yes.
Because you could define the prompt and also because they've defined the prompt as one of the parameters, you can specialize each prompt for each row and then create its own independent prompt. So that's really, really powerful. And that's just with AI.
I mean,
Are
I
there
feel like
other
there's a
functions
whole
related to
episode.
AI? Like what else is there for AI?
Like for this part of the AI or in Sheets?
In Sheets. I mean, I'll tell you, I've got like everybody can do the analysis on honestly. Like a lot of things can do it. I think the graphing is really helpful. That's really powerful. Summarization is like fine. A lot of things can do that. The new stuff, the thing, like I've been doing something similar to this with something called GPT for Sheets, doing it. But the huge problem that I run into is trying to get people to go create an API key in OpenAI and then pull it over and open a function.
Yes.
Like that is just a big lift, right? So there's a massive barrier. This is the first time I've seen something that any Google Sheets user can just hop in and try out. That's really large. Like that's major.
Yes. I'm going to prep. Well, I have them, but I'm going to let you talk through our friends at Neon One, what they've got going on.
All right. So this week, first episode, my friends Tim Sarantonio, Rachel D'Souza are launching a new podcast called Generosity Experience. You don't want to miss this. Tim is one of the brightest minds in the fundraising space. I met him a couple of years ago. It has been amazing getting to know him. Part of getting to know him has been watching him go through a lot of changes throughout the last few years and just watching both his ethical compass and the way that he understands the fundraising space, his perception on what we could do if we were using data together. So he's leading the fundraising effectiveness project right now. He just has a wide angle view and is a steward of the ecosystem in a way that I really like. So that's Tim. He's launching a podcast called The Generosity Experience. I also really love what Rachel and team are doing with community-centric fundraising. So great episode to get to hear and get in on the ground floor on this new podcast that is just coming out this week. So if you haven't downloaded it, checked it out, please do it. You're going to love it.
I was like clapping for you over here on my own. I was like,
All right.
And then I realized I wasn't even
Yeah. Nobody can see the clapping, but thank you so much.
anything for you, truly. That was unfortunately on camera too. So now I've got to live up to that. All right, let me reshare. I am so excited. I'm going to do this on our, I'm going to expand this a little bit so I can fill that screen a little bit more. There we go. So this is an example of like,
great.
example of like donations, right?
Okay.
So the donor name, their email, how much they gave, when they gave it, and their program designation.
Okay.
I want to show you a limitation before I show you sort of like the awesomeness, because I think one made me think it could do the other. And when I was exploring last week, it can't.
Okay.
So one thing I think is really lacking, and I know this is on the horizon for Gemini and Google Sheets, would be like format cleanup, right? So what I want is, can you adjust the formatting for column D, or actually for donation date, to just be short date? Look at that. 2 days later and it can do it.
Awesome.
That's why I wanted to do it first, because I was like, but what it can't do is live. It's giving me advice on how to do it myself. So it's like a half improvement.
Wait, can you just try something?
So like, hey,
where it says enter a prompt, can you just say, okay, do it?
Well, it
probably won't work. Okay, all right.
Well, let's try it. Whatever.
Here's why I'm saying that. The reason I'm saying that is that AI doesn't know what it can or can't do. So asking it, can you do something, isn't effective as saying adjust it and then letting it tell you that it can't. Right?
Yes.
So, okay, interesting. All right, so that's the limit. So it's like slightly improved, but okay.
I want you to highlight all donations above 500. All right, here's what we're going to do. Conditional formatting will be applied to these cells if the cell's value is greater than 500. Does that work? Yep. Yeah. I love seeing that face.
Okay. Okay, wait. What? Okay.
And then I hit that edit button.
That means that it can change things about the cell, but not in the cell right now. So, all right, then what are other things that you can change?
In my mind, conditional formatting should apply similarly to formatting, right? So that's why I thought it could do both. That's why I wanted to show you the limitation first.
Well, what was the formatting that you wanted to do before?
So what I would want is this, essentially. You would make it.
You would change the. Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
So that makes sense. That does make sense, because that is actually metadata as well.
Can you get me total amounts donated by donor name? So this is a good example. If I have a list of donations, and you just saw, I actually just copied a few of these folks down below on like another, I'm going to do it again. Oh, I wonder if I had it highlighted. Okay, no, I was like, I did have it like 2 of these highlighted when I had done that. It actually still got the whole of the deal here. I'm going to make this bigger really quick so we can see it.
Right.
Okay, so what it did was, I'm going to calculate. First, I'll group the data by donor name. Then I'll calculate the sum of the donation amount for each donor. Finally, I'll display the result.
But it can't put that result into the sheet.
It can. You hit insert. You can overwrite data or add a new sheet. And then there you go.
Okay, but then what we found was that if you make changes to it, this isn't live.
Correct.
Okay,
so can you make that a, well, let me get back to the right sheet really quick so it doesn't, I have no idea what it would do there. I don't want to risk it. Can you make that a pivot table? The pivot tables are really interesting. In some ways, it can do a lot of things with them, and others it can't. Okay,
Pivot
so
tables are wild. Like they are a wild
so
ride.
for those that don't nerd out in data like us, the difference between what we asked first and what I just asked, this will live update because a pivot table drives off of live data.
Yeah,
if you're in
right.
Excel and using pivot tables, you have to hit refresh. Google Sheets pivot tables update automatically. So I'm going to hit apply. And now it's got a pivot table summarizing here. Here, let me make this smaller now.
Okay.
Whoa.
I think that it grabbed a cell that was not a name.
Love that.
Right.
I will look into that.
No, that's cool.
But here's my question, Tim. This looks like a pivot table, walks like a pivot table, but what's not popping up like a normal pivot table, and it is the, oh, here you go. This was what I was wondering.
There you
like,
go.
is it a live pivot table or was it a static pivot table?
No, that's live.
Now I'm going to go,
okay.
I'm going to increase Suzanne Warren's by 500, which, wait, let's see what hers was really quick. Suzanne Warren.
Increase it by 1 million so we can just see really quickly. Like put like 1 million in there.
Great idea.
Because, yeah, there we go.
It went to 0. It did update, but I wonder why it went to 0. Does it think it was a flaw?
No, it can't. It can't because the pivot table doesn't like, it just reads.
There you go.
Okay.
That was weird. I wonder if I hit like a space in there or something.
I do too. Yeah. If it wasn't actually a number.
This live update.
Okay. That is very, very cool. There's so every time we do an episode, I'm like, there's so much more.
Oh yeah. I've got 2 other spreadsheets we could have gotten into.
yeah. And, but we've got to call it. Unfortunately, this is amazing. Every time we do something in Sheets, I'm a weird mix of excited and like, wait, but it should do this other thing. And I just want to say, if other people feel that, like that's a normal, like that is how tech works when you feel like, hey, this should be doing something else. That's how you know that you're interested in it. That's how you know you're curious about it, but it feels like frustration, right?
Yes.
And I think that right now people are quick to give up in AI because it's not as predictable as other forms of tech. It's still just not as predictable. And so if that's you, that's fine. No big deal. Part of what Sami and I are trying to do is to say, here's what it can and can't do. And the other thing is just keep to remind you, this is the worst it'll be. It will keep getting better from here. And there's and it's changing really fast. What doesn't work now might in 3 weeks start working. So anyway, Sami, as always, thanks so much for introducing us to that. And
always. All right, let's talk about, let's play our awesome little video here and then talk a little bit about Upskillerator before we wrap up and preview a fun episode next week.
Though, we need to tell people about next week.
Okay, well, they'll get it after your scary biker video.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Again, why does the world do this?
It's so funny. I don't know why the world
this so many times.
I know.
All right, give me 5, 4, 3, 2.
This is Steve. Learning AI on his own has made him unhappy. He joined the Upskillerator, a badass AI crew that upskills on AI together. Now Steve is happy. If you're tired of lone wolfing AI, click the thingy and join the baddest AI gang on the AI way. And when I say baddest, I actually mean goodest. Because for reasons that make no sense, the best way to say goodest is baddest. Anyways, you should join the Upskillerator by the human stack.
That is really fun, though, I will say. I think we're just gonna make that the manual play every time, so I don't have to.
I
sit here
I
and
think we're
do-
gonna have to. I don't know what the deal is because we did test that. Yep. Okay.
It's
All right.
we stare at each other. Today, actually, I'm really excited about today's episode of the Upskillerator. I know we're going through we're essentially all of our second season is about building building up workflows to become automations, because then season 3 will be about agents. So Tim, do you want to tell us a little bit more maybe about what we've already learned, or maybe even just a little preview of today?
Yeah, the Upskillerator is a place where those of us that want to upskill on AI can join together, talk through things. I lead it, but I lead some of the content, but really what leads it is curiosity from the community. And that is really evident in the way that people keep coming with new questions, new ideas. This season, we've been focusing on how to create workflows within Cassidy. Cassidy is just the easiest entry level workflow creation AI tool. So it combines assistance with workflows and knowledge bases all in one tool. So that makes it really easy. What we've covered so far, we've talked through here's what data is and why it's important to understand structured versus unstructured data, how to structure that data and extract it, how to combine that with Slack so that you can Slack in things. And then this week, we're going to be working on how you can pull out information from a CRM. Specifically, we'll be looking at HubSpot, but Salesforce is the other one that they do make it really easy to use with Cassidy.
Mm-hmm.
So pull down records or a record, make changes to it, extract data from it, and then push that data back up into the CRM. This is like magic land, where when I was running CRM implementations, this is the tools that we always wanted to have. So that is what we're going to be working on today. Anybody that joins can get this and all previous episodes. So yeah, click the link. Would love to have you join.
And we welcome all skill levels, right? Like the only requirement's curiosity. This is for those that want to be practitioners, though, like want to get in and play and learn together.
Yep.
But there's definitely, we are all learning together. Super fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right.
All right. As we wrap up, super excited. Next week, we've got Tim in the hot seat. I will be playing at summer camp. I'll try to send Tim some fun like photos or video that he can pop up, and I can say hi to everyone via video from like Junkyard Ball or Star Wars Dodgeball or whatever we're playing. But Tim's actually we would love to actually invite a couple of our listeners. So if you're interested, comment on the recording, either on YouTube, LinkedIn, my Facebook, which I think is hilarious. Let us know, reach out. We'd love to have a couple folks actually come on stage with Tim. And Tim's just going to kind of go over like, what are some lingering questions? Because every episode we're like, we have way more things we could have talked about. And we've got a lot of summer left. So like, what more do we need to focus on? What questions do people have? If you don't show up, Tim's just going to riff a lot of bad dad jokes. So I would really appreciate if all of you could help me keep in line while I'm gone. Like that would be awesome.
So true. It's so true. Yeah. So hop in here next week. You do not have to go on screen. You can just ask questions in the chat. But if you want to, we'd love to have you. So we will see you next week.
Yeah, we're so excited.
Sami won't see you.
Yes.
It's going to be at camp.
Whoop, whoop. I'm so excited. It's like 82 kiddos running around with type 1 diabetes. It's insane.
Oh my gosh. That does sound fun.
It's pure chaos. I love it. All right. Thank you all so much. Tim, we'll see you next week. I'll see you in a couple weeks. And until then, stay curious.